I finally had them. I had the complete, unedited, never before seen manuscript for The Winds of Winter *, and I was holding it in a vice grip in my trembling hands, knowing that if I hit send, I would be destroying the life of the man who had stolen 10 years of mine. This wasn't some petty office revenge. This was the ultimate betrayal from my closest friend, coupled with a literary treasure trove that could either make me a legend or an outcast for life. It was a choice between my moral compass and a cold, brutal, deeply satisfying form of justice. The man I called my brother, let's call him Alex, had spent a decade subtly sabotaging my career in academia, all while profiting handsomely from his own supposed genius, built squarely on the back of my original research. Now I had the power to expose him, to ruin him, and to send a shockwave through the entire publishing world. Was I wrong for planning to leak the most anticipated novel of the century, not for money, but purely for revenge? Tell me, honestly, if you would have done the same thing to save your own life's work. To understand the sheer magnitude of this decision, I have to take you back to the beginning, to the days when Alex and I were inseparable. We met in college, two awkward, overly ambitious history majors bonded by a shared, almost obsessive love for medieval literature, obscure historical footnotes, and, of course, the sprawling, brilliant, agonizingly slow to produce world of A Song of Ice and Fire *. Alex was charming, effortlessly charismatic, the kind of person who could walk into a room and have everyone eating out of the palm of his hand within 5 minutes. I, on the other hand, was the quiet, intensely focused scholar. I had the raw intellect and the deep, dive research skills. He had the presentation, the connections, and the ability to spin a tale. We formed a perfect, if somewhat precarious, partnership. Our dream was to collaborate on a series of nonfiction books that would analyze the historical parallels and literary influences within the ** universe. We started small, publishing articles in academic journals, and I was the engine, the one who spent countless sleepless nights poring over primary sources, referencing genealogies, and developing the truly groundbreaking theories. Alex was the polished public face, the one who pitched our ideas to publishers and presented at conferences. For the first few years, it felt like a dream. We were two halves of one brilliant whole, conquering the niche literary world together. But ambition, when mixed with envy, is a corrosive poison. The rot started subtly. Whenever a major publisher showed interest, Alex would insist he handle the communication, citing my lack of social grace and his superior networking skills. He'd come back with contracts that on paper looked fair, a 50/50 split on royalties, but the fine print always designated him as the primary author and me as the research associate or contributing editor. I argued, of course, but he'd talk me, saying, "It's just nomenclature, man. The content is ours and the money is split down the middle. This is just how the publishing world works for the front-facing talent." I was naive, desperate for my work to see the light of day, and I trusted him. That trust was my first mistake, and it cost me my reputation. Our first book, a deep dive into the historical precedents for the War of the Five Kings, was a critical success. It was my theory about the parallels between the anarchy in England and the succession crisis in Westeros that formed the central thesis. But when it came time for the publicity tour, Alex was everywhere. He was on podcasts, giving TEDx talks, and being interviewed by major newspapers. He'd introduce the key ideas as his own, casually mentioning me as a brilliant colleague who helped with some of the archival work. The sting was sharp, but I swallowed it, telling myself that the royalties were coming in, and my name was still in the book. But then came the sequel, and the betrayal became outright theft. For this book, I developed what I considered my magnum opus, a sweeping, revolutionary theory on how the entire narrative structure of ** was built upon an obscure, medieval Irish epic. complete with structural and linguistic evidence. I spent 3 years meticulously constructing the argument. I showed Alex the complete draft, the detailed notes, the mountain of evidence, and he was ecstatic. "This is it, old friend," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. "This is the one that makes us famous." He took the manuscript to polish the prose and shop it around to the big leagues. I didn't hear from him for 6 months. When I finally did, it was not a call, but an email, an announcement. Alex was publishing a solo work, an instant bestseller with a massive advance from a major publishing house. The title, it was almost identical to the working title we had discussed. The description, it was a near verbatim summary of my Irish epic theory. My world shattered. I confronted him, the confrontation turning into a screaming match in the quiet hallway of our shared office building. His response was chilling. He didn't deny it. "Look, man, I'm sorry, but this was *2* good. You were never going to be able to sell this. You're too academic, too dry. I took your skeleton and put flesh on it. I made it commercial. It's a cruel business, and I'm simply better at it than you are. Don't worry, I credited you in the acknowledgments. You're a key inspiration. Be happy for me. Be happy for him." The audacity was staggering. My proof was tenuous. He had my rough drafts, and he could easily claim he had been developing the idea concurrently. Legally, it was a nightmare. I had no paper trail for the final, critical theories. I was a junior scholar fighting a publishing darling with a phalanx of lawyers. I tried to sue, but the cost was astronomical, and the publishing house's legal team chewed up my savings and spat me out. I was left professionally devastated, financially ruined, and emotionally hollowed out. Alex became a literary superstar, hailed as a visionary, giving keynote speeches on my research. I was forced to take a humiliating job as a historical consultant for low-budget documentaries, a ghost of the scholar I should have been. The friendship was dead, replaced by a cold, burning hatred that sustained me for the next 7 years. I swore I would get him back, but how do you destroy a man who has everything? It took 7 years of patient, almost obsessive searching for leverage. My chance came in the most improbable way. Alex, as it turned out, wasn't just a fan. He had cultivated a genuine, years-long friendship with George R.R. Martin himself. He wasn't just an analyst. He was an official consultant, brought in to fact-check historical details and cross-reference minor lore points for the final novels. This gave him a level of access few outside the production team could dream of. A few months ago, I got a random email notification. Alex, in his arrogance, was still using the archaic, shared cloud drive we set up in college for archival purposes, mainly to store old research notes and rough drafts. I hadn't checked it in years, assuming he'd deleted it. But there it was, still active, buried deep in my list of linked accounts. Out of morbid curiosity, I clicked on the recent activity log. And there, shining like a beacon in the dark, was a file transfer timestamped just a week ago. Coming from an IP address I quickly traced back to Alex's home office. The file was simply labeled **WoW Final Draft 11, 08/2025, docx. I felt a dizzying combination of disbelief and adrenaline. Could it be the mythical, the long promised, the one literary work that could halt the internet? I used the old, forgotten password we created together, a mashup of our favorite quotes, and accessed the folder. And there it was, not a hoax, not a partial chapter. It was a massive document, over 500 pages long, meticulously formatted. I downloaded it, heart pounding like a drum against my ribs. I skimmed the first chapter. It was unmistakably the real deal, complete with character deaths, plot twists, and revelations that would melt the internet. The manuscript was watermarked, but in a rush of hubris, Alex had saved a clean, internal review copy to the shared drive. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely read the words. This wasn't just a book, it was a bomb. I spent a week wrestling with the moral dilemma. Alex had stolen my future, but leaking the winds of winter would be an act of genuine literary terrorism. It would destroy Martin's legacy, the publisher's decade of planning, and Alex's career because the metadata would show he was the last one to touch the file before it was uploaded to our shared drive. He would be the prime suspect, instantly discredited, banned from the literary world forever, and potentially facing catastrophic legal action. It was a perfectly targeted, career-ending, life-shattering blow. I had to choose between my own bitter need for justice and the moral sanctity of a creative work. I sat there, staring at the screen, the cursor hovering over the upload button, my finger shaking. The cold, logical part of my brain screamed, "Asterisk, he deserves this. He took everything from you, and this is the only way to get it back." Asterisk, the small, broken human part of me whispered, "Asterisk, don't become the monster he is." Asterisk, I remembered the years of struggle, condescending pity, the public triumph built on my back. My bitterness was a living thing, and it was demanding to be fed. So that's the situation I was in. I had the nuclear option. I had the key to utter, complete, and perfectly deserved revenge, but deploying it meant causing an unprecedented explosion in the publishing world. It meant hurting people who had done nothing to me, the author, the millions of fans. I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have let this opportunity slip away and live with the injustice, or would you have pressed the button and watched the world burn, knowing that your greatest tormentor was finally getting what he deserved? I really need to know what you think. I took a deep breath, the cold air of my tiny, miserable apartment feeling like an embrace of my dark intentions. The feeling of the mouse under my palm was electric. The anger won. It didn't just win, it consumed me. I thought of the years I spent watching Alex's smug face on TV, peddling my ideas. I thought of the stack of unpaid bills and the PhD I had to put on hold. I thought of the contempt in his voice when he told me to be happy for him, and the decision became easy. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about tearing down a false idol built on a foundation of lies. I knew I couldn't simply leak the full manuscript in one go. That would be too messy, too easily traced, and it would be a disservice to the beauty of the leak itself. I needed to be surgical. I needed to create an atmosphere of panic and chaos that pointed directly at Alex, without letting the entire book be immediately available, which would simply lead to the files being scrubbed from the internet immediately. My goal wasn't to destroy the book. My goal was to destroy Alex's career, and to do that, I needed to make the leak his fault, and I needed to ensure the world knew what he had cost me. I executed the plan in 3 agonizing steps. Step 1. I created an anonymous, untraceable email address and sent a single, devastating email to the editorial team at Alex's publisher, the one who had published his stolen book. The subject line was chillingly simple. Your star author, Alex, is in possession of unauthorized materials. The body of the email contained only a screenshot, a high-resolution image of the title page of the WoW final draft manuscript, clearly showing the watermarked internal review code. I didn't attach the document. I just let them stew in their panic. This was enough to trigger an internal investigation that would instantly focus on Alex, the only external consultant with that level of access. Step 2. I created a disposable account on a major social media platform. I uploaded a single, short video, just a screen recording, of me scrolling through 3 pages from the middle of the manuscript, carefully chosen to reveal a major, favorite character's death. But nothing more. The video was less than 10 seconds long, ending with a black screen and a single line of text. Asterisk, the man who stole my life's work will now lose his own. Asterisk, I then sent a direct, anonymous message to a few of the biggest asterisk Asoyev asterisk fan accounts, linking them to the video. I waited. The explosion was immediate. The 10-second clip went viral in minutes. Fan forums crashed. News sites picked up the story within the hour. The death revealed in the clip was so shocking, so specific, that everyone knew it was real. The noise was deafening. The publishing house, already in panic mode from the initial email, went into crisis overdrive. The focus immediately turned to the small circle of trusted external consultants, and Alex, due to his arrogance in using a poorly secured drive and his public proximity to the author, was the lowest hanging fruit. The asterisk Asoyev asterisk creator, who I genuinely felt a pang of guilt for, issued a cryptic statement about betrayal of trust and deep disappointment, which only fueled the speculation. Then came step 3, the final, perfect strike. I sent another email, this time to the major international newspapers and literary journals, and I sent it from a different, equally untraceable account. The email contained a lengthy, detailed account of Alex's theft of my original theory, complete with screen grabs of our old correspondence and the initial drafts of my stolen book, all juxtaposed against the published book. The email ended with one final link, the same short video of the manuscript scrolling. My message was clear. The leaker is the victim of the exposed thief. I wasn't claiming credit for the leak. I was simply ensuring that the world knew that the man they were about to destroy was a fraud who had already destroyed another's career. I framed it not as an act of revenge, but as a desperate, final attempt to reclaim my own truth by exposing his. The aftermath was catastrophic for Alex. The publishing house, facing a PR nightmare, immediately suspended his consulting contract and launched a full internal investigation. His publisher, sensing blood in the water, distanced themselves from him and put his upcoming projects on indefinite hold. The media, initially focused on the manuscript leak, seized on the narrative of the plagiarist, consultant who may have leaked the novel out of spite or professional meltdown. He became a pariah overnight. I watched, a cold, empty satisfaction filling me, as his carefully constructed empire crumbled. I never leaked the whole manuscript. I didn't have to. The damage was done with 3 pages and a well-placed, devastating narrative. Alex called me once, his voice a frantic, pleading wreck. "I know it was you," he whispered. "You destroyed me. You took everything." I listened to his desperate accusations, and then I simply said, "You taught me everything I know about the publishing world, Alex. Be happy for me." And then I hung up. He lost his publishing deals, his public speaking career evaporated, and the legal fallout from the publisher's investigation was immense. He was forced to sell his apartment to pay for legal fees, his reputation permanently stained. My name was cleared, not in a court of law, but in the court of public opinion. Scholars and journalists began to quietly revisit my old work, the groundwork I had laid years ago, and my original, brilliant theories began to be attributed to the correct person, me. I was eventually offered a legitimate, well-funded research position at a university that respected my work, not my networking skills. The years of pain are still a scar, but the deep, festering wound of injustice finally closed. I realized that my revenge wasn't about the book, it was about taking back the narrative. I took my life's work back from the thief and forced the world to acknowledge the truth. The moral of my story is perhaps a dark one. Sometimes justice is a slow, quiet poison, and the best way to destroy a villain is to give him exactly enough rope to hang himself on his own arrogance. I still have the complete manuscript on a separate, encrypted drive, and I will likely delete it someday. It's my trophy, the symbol of the day I fought back and won. I didn't ruin a novel, I ruined a thief. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my confession. Like this video if you were on my side and think Alex finally got what he deserved. Subscribe for more stories like this, where the meek finally get their revenge on the mighty. And please, share your final thoughts on this whole messy situation in the comments section. Did I go too far, or was this the only path to true justice? Let me know. I'll see you all in the next story.